Well, good evening, councillors, and for those watching on the stream, my name is David Morecambe. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Wellington Shire. The reason I'm opening the meeting is Mayor Alan Hall is an apology. He had some personal issues to attend to, and obviously with the current COVID episodes, we're operating on a skeleton crew at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, councillors, before we move into the order of business, it's my role then to appoint an acting mayor or chairman of this meeting, which is a process. What I'll be doing is calling for a nomination, making sure that person accepts the nomination. We don't need to move forward. That we'll just note in the minutes that that person has accepted the nomination, and that person will then chair the meeting in the role of the mayor. So, councillors, if we could start that, if I could call for a nomination, please. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, CEO. I nominate Councillor Darren McCubbin to be acting mayor for this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. We don't need to, it's not a formal motion. Councillor McCubbin, you accept that? Are there any other nominations? It's just like I noted in the minutes that Council appointed Councillor McCubbin as the acting mayor and chairman of this meeting, and I'll hand over to you, Councillor McCubbin.
Thank you very much, CEO. I think I need to turn that on. Thank you, and thank you, councillors, for your confidence in me tonight. Can we just read the apologies, please, quickly? Actually, no, I should read the members the blurb, shouldn't I? Can I have the blurb up on the screen? Members of the public gallery should note that Council records and publishes council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on Council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate time during the meeting, members of the gallery, and of course we don't have a gallery tonight, but certainly people at home, you will have a chance to address people at Council, at which time their image, comments or submissions were recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the Council meeting but who wish to communicate with the Council via the webcasting chat room should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with, and we will deal with them at the end of the meeting. Can councillors please ensure their mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting? Can you please give us the apologies for tonight, Mr CEO?
Certainly, Mayor. So apologies for tonight is Deputy Mayor Maher, Councillor Maher, Mayor Alan Hall, Councillor Crosley and Councillor Gary Stevens.
Thank you. And can I just please acknowledge to those apologies that those councillors very much wish to be part of tonight's activity, but we as a council decided to make the tough decision to actually just meet the quorum, that is 5 councillors, in the spirit of the way that our community is working together to defeat this COVID epidemic. We thank those councillors for not being here tonight. Please be assured, however, that they contributed to all of the discussions that we've had. In particular, we'd like to pay a note to Mayor Hall, who I know is going through a lot, and our hearts are with him tonight. Can I also just make a brief statement too about the work of our community at this stage? These are very troubling times, and I think we are all immensely proud of the way our community is in the incredible main, working hard to overcome this pandemic by staying at home and staying isolated and doing what the government is asking them to do. I know that is terribly difficult on businesses who are doing it hard, and indeed individuals, but I thank very much the members of the community for doing it. And for those essential services on the front line, for those people who are the health workers who are working in our communities, for the fireys, for the police who are dealing with this, the paramedics and so on, but surprisingly the grocery workers, the teachers, the bakers, those sorts of people who are helping us and getting us our stores through these times. It's absolutely amazing. I think all of us sitting around this table are immensely proud of our community and the way they are responding. There are many good stories. I don't want to talk about all of them. Can I just mention one? Live at the Bundy, Brett Glover, Andy Stewart and Brett Tippett, they moved people together online into an in-excess version of Never Tear Us Apart, which is to be seen to be believed. Ladies and gentlemen, in this terrible times, there are inspirational stories. We are immensely proud of our community and we thank you for your efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to move on with the meeting if I can. A declaration of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts, councillors? No conflicts. I would like to move to A4, confirmation of the minutes of the previous council meeting. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Boggy.
We haven't done the beginning of the previous.
We can go.
Thanks, Councillor McCullum. I'd like to move the Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of the 7th of April 2020.
Have we got a second for that? Councillor Rossetti, is that motion opposed? Not opposed, therefore it is carried. I did notice I did miss out the prayer at the beginning, so do we wish to do that? Is that...
You're in charge.
Then I shall do it now, okay?
The acknowledgement.
And I think I should at least do that. I do apologise. I'm very much in my training wheels right now. I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land and the gun. Please, if we could stand, that'd be great. Oh, so many years since I've done this. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and the Gunno-Kurno people and pay respects to our elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for the guidance in our decisions so the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. And thank you, Councillor Ripper, for making me aware of the fact that I'd missed that. So let's now move on, therefore. We've done that. We're up to A5. There's no business arising. Are there any late items, Mr CEO?
None.
Is there any notices of motion?
None.
No petitions? Any invited addresses or presentations, councillors? Any questions or notice? Therefore, we move to A11, Mayor and Council Activity Report. The purpose of this is to talk about the activities of councillors and Mayor over the time. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that the Mayor and Council Activity Report be noted.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Hull, thank you. Is that opposed? Not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Rossetti, do you wish to say anything?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I just wanted to mention that about the RSL services in there. I attended the RSL annual dinner, and I know there's a rededication service that the Mayor attended. Many elements of our life at the moment have been turned upside down with the COVID epidemic, as you've spoken about. And it's amazing seeing how people are adapting. And this Anzac Day on Saturday, we spoke about it actually at the annual dinner of the SAIL RSL. This Anzac Day on Saturday, of course, we can't have the typically hundreds or in some cases thousands of people gathering together to commemorate that important part of our history and the service given to our country by our defence forces, etc. But the RSL are actually calling for people to stand on the end of their driveway or light a candle or have a little ceremony or even start watching the national service at 5:30 on Saturday morning. I certainly encourage people to do that because it's important that we have some sort of normality, but also that we do acknowledge those sacrifices that have been made in the history of our country in making Australia what it is today. So I certainly encourage people to light a candle, stand at the end of their driveway, watch that dawn service, perhaps even recite the ode, fly an Australian flag, whatever you feel is significant to you, but to do that to recognise Anzac Day, even though we are isolated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti, and thank you for those excellent words. Ladies and gentlemen, are there any delegates' reports? No, there's not. And now we move on to the officers' report. And I begin with C1, the Chief Executive Officers. And before, Councillor Ripper, I do get you to stand up. I might, because it's appropriate at this stage, to talk a little bit more about the COVID-19 and the organisation's response to that. And then I'll get someone to move the motion, including perhaps acknowledging some of the issues that Council's dealing with right now. First and foremost, Council wishes to thank our community for how they've complied with Victorian Chief Health Officer's stay-at-home directions, because so many people are staying at home across Australia. As a community, we've successfully flattened that curve and reduced our number of COVID-19 cases to stay within the capacity of our health system. In regard to Council's role in emergency services, pandemics are no different to bushfires in that we lead planning for pandemics and we also coordinate across local health and human service providers to implement our Shire's pandemic plan. So currently we're working with Health and Relief Services to build the capacity to respond to the COVID-19 emergency. Meals on Wheels and similar are also being ramped up to support vulnerable people and self-isolating people within our community. Rest assured that Council is working very strongly with our emergency services to ensure that people are looked after in this time. We've initiated a COVID-19 relief line, and that number is 1300 137 218. That's 1300 137 218. Please, if anybody in the community has an issue that they wish dealt with, that we can help in any way, please ring us 1300 137 218 and please ask for our assistance. We have somebody on call and we'll be able to help you get connected with the release services that you need. We're really pleased with the IT team and the way they've been able to respond quickly and to set up that relief time. Our staff have been extraordinarily supportive and flexible. They have certainly now working from home, but they've adapted easily to the way of working for this time being. We thank the staff for the efforts that they are making. For council functions affected by the enforced closures of many of our public facilities, our libraries, the Wedge, the Gippsland Art Gallery, Aqua Energy and GRSC, many alternative ways of offering services to our community have been designed and implemented or trialled over the last 4 weeks. It's been extraordinary, the ideas they've come up with. For example, our libraries have now got a click and collect home delivery service. So if you want a book from the library, you're stuck at home, then click and collect home delivery will look after you. They're also running interactive children's story times, rock, rhythm and rhyme. The children absolutely love them, get them connected. Aqua Energy is offering long distance fitness classes. If you're struggling at home, get onto that, you'll love it. The Wedge is leading a Gippsland Live project and a couple of other exciting projects coming up. We've also got the Gippsland Art Gallery. They've created a Term 2 education program, art teacher resources, and the gallery is also offering art classes and moving ahead with the John Leslie Awards, which we're very encouraged with. There are many examples and we encourage everyone to get involved. Understand that our capital construction program is still committed to delivering our capital construction program. We want to support our economy during this time and keep people working. We are also delivering to support a number of local businesses during this COVID-19 emergency. We understand and appreciate the work that's being done there. For all those functions that have not been affected by COVID-19 requirements and regulations, Council ensured the continuation of business as usual for our services and projects. Again, our staff has been instrumental in coming up with the ways to make this happen while ensuring that COVID-19 requirements are met. We've committed to supporting our staff during this challenging time by creating an internal process that allows to redeployment of staff whose roles are affected. I'd like to thank the CEO for his work on that and just roll it together into the Chief Executive's Officer's report. And now, if I can, ask that a councillor could move that, please. And Councillor Ripper is getting to her feet. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the Chief Executive Officer's report be received.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Is that second? Councillor Rossetti, is that opposed? Not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Ripper, would you like to say a few words?
Look, I'd just like to echo everything that you've said, Mayor, and that the CEO is working very hard via teleconference and via phone calls, and I think I'd certainly like to congratulate the CEO for the way that he has led all the staff with short notice to get at home, working from home, and everything is working beautifully together, all in sync under these trying circumstances that no one has ever seen before. So thank you, CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper.
And thank you, Councillor Ripper, as well. Well said. We now move on to item C 1.2, the purpose of which is to indicate the March 2020 Council Performance Report. Councillor Hull.
Yeah, Acting Mayor, I'm going to move the Council receive and note that the March 2020 Council Performance Report as attached.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Bye. Is that opposed? It's not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Hull, would you like to say something, please?
Just quickly, Acting Mayor, the report is a very long and detailed one, and it's one that's full of excitement from a ratepayer's point of view and what the Council has achieved and what it's delivering. Because of the nature of tonight, I'll just pick out a few little isolated pieces, and if you hark back to the Council plan, you'll see that we're really working well within the confines of delivering what we said we would. And the major projects that we've got going around the place at the moment, the Cameron Sporting Complex, it's going along absolutely terrific. And as soon as you're allowed to walk out on your own or go with somebody in a car, I'd recommend that you go and have a look at what's happening over there. And it's magnificent for the Shire. It's going to be great for Matra. The Sale Tennis Club redevelopment, stage 1, which was 5 courts, that's now been handed back to the club so they can start operating and using those. They're going through the test period at the moment due to the lights. Over Stratford, we've got the Pine Lodge tennis court reconstruction, and they're nearing completion. It's complete. Good to hear that it's complete. Map for Streetscape project, the southern side has been completed, and the works have started on the northern side, and there's hopeful that the both sides then will be asphalted to bring them up to a high standard street, match what is already there. One of the other exciting events that happened in the course of since the last report was A10 Gippsland, which was to raise funds for the Gippsland Emergency Relief Fund. And that night, on Sunday the 15th of March, raised $161,300. And there was a live auction at the Wedge, and there was over 300 online bidding, and there was 806 donation pieces were bid on. And we had a big roll-up of guest auctioneers, including the acting mayor there tonight, who coerced and cajoled and was his usual inimitable self.
Thank you.
You've already dealt with the COVID-109 or the coronavirus, or as it's been harked around the countryside, the millivirus. And you dealt with that in your preamble. From a council point of view, we have implemented a business support package as outlined in our meeting on the 7th of April, and also paying our suppliers as quickly as we can to help with their cash flow. Our finances are currently in a strong position, and even though we have 3 months to go under the end of the financial year. And just one point of interest as a final point, some of our ratepayers are doing it tough at the moment. So we have suspended penalty interest from the 1st of April to the 30th of June, and are working with any ratepayer that has identified hardship. That's it. And there's a lot more in the report for that.
Thank you, Councillor Hull. That's an excellent way of explaining the report. And can I just emphasise that again, if anyone is having any financial issues in regard to COVID-19, whether at business or residential property, please contact us, please get in touch with us. We're here to help, and we're sure we can work out some sort of arrangement. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to C2, the General Manager of Corporate Services Areas, and we move on to item C 2.1, Assembly of Councillors, the purpose of which is to indicate assemblies that councillors have done in the previous couple of weeks. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I'd like to move the Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Councillor records for the period 2nd of April 2020 to the 15th of April 2020.
Excellent, Councillor Bye. Seconded, Councillor Rossetti. Is that opposed? Not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Bye, do you wish to say anything? Thank you very much. We now move on to item C 2.2, the purpose of which is to set up the 2020 local government election. Councillor Hull.
Acting Mayor, I'd like to move one, the Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with the Victorian Electoral Commission for the provision of election services and compulsory voting enforcement, and 2, adopt the 2020 local government general election postal voting method, which was used in the 2016 local government general election.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Ripper, I'll go for there. Thank you very much. Is that opposed? Not opposed, therefore it's carried. Councillor Hull, would you like to say some words?
Just quickly, the motion currently as we've got it it's probably lined up for the was it the 24th of October this year, which is the due date. The wording allows for any change. It's just to enter in an agreement with the VEC or Victorian Electoral Commission. Currently, the date of the election is still set for October this year, with a proviso that if the restrictions of movement are still around, then it will go out to another date.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hull. And I'd just like to emphasise, of course, that the elections are run, of course, through the auspices of the Victorian Government. They set the timing and so on of it. We have nothing to do with any of that. So, well, they control it. Yeah. It is an act of Parliament, that's right. That's what I was trying to put forward, that it's an act of Parliament, it's not actually something which is controlled within this chamber right now. Thank you very much for picking me up on that, Councillor Hull. I'd like to move on now to item C3, the General Manager of Development, the first item which is C3.1, which is to pass a technical planning scheme amendment. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that one, Council, pursuant to Section 29 of the Planning Environment Act 1987, resolve to adopt Amendment C102, Technical Planning Scheme Amendment, and 2, pursuant to Section 31 of the Planning Environment Act 1987, resolve to request the Minister for Planning to approve Amendment C102, Technical Planning Scheme Amendment.
And that is seconded by Councillor Boggy. Is that opposed? Not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. This motion moves to correcting a number of minor inconsistencies and anomalies that have been identified within both the text and maps of the Wellington Planning Scheme. What happens is these sorts of things are picked up. There's no point bringing them to Council when they're just small things here and there, but when there's enough, they bring them forward as a motion for us to correct a lot of those things. Now, there's 30 items in this particular motion that we've just asked to be rectified. I'd be very happy to go through all 30 of those. However, I'm sure that all those people who've left their Netflix to watch this council meeting online are probably keen to get back to their latest series. So I won't take you through it, but if people are interested, they're welcome to look through the agenda and they'll spot them all there.
Indeed so. They're merely of a technical procedural basis. Councillor Hull. Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. Well explained. I'd now like to move on to the items under the heading of the Manager of Built and Natural Environment. First one of which is the Boggy Creek Special Charge Scheme Construction Scheme Submission Committee Hearing Report, the purpose of which is to hear a report of the submission subsequent to us declaring the scheme. And Councillor Boggy, I understand, is getting to his feet.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I move that Council receive and consider the report from the Submissions Committee in relation to the Boggy Creek Road Special Charge Street Scheme, Construction Scheme and item 2, 3 and 4 as tabled.
Thank you very much. Is that seconded? Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? It's not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Boggy, would you like to say a few words?
I might just cover both in the next item.
That'd be an excellent idea. Let's do that. We now move on to item C4.2. So the purpose of the first one was to hear any opposition there was. The second is to actually publicly declare it. So this is where it actually happens. C4.2, Boggy Creek Road Special Charge Scheme, Construction Scheme, Declaration of Scheme. Councillor Boggy.
Thanks again, Acting Mayor. I move the Council, having considered all submissions received and taken account of all objections lodged and having complied with the requirements of Section 163A, 163B and 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, the Act, and otherwise according to law, and having so far as can be ascertained from available records and can reasonably be concluded, ascertained that Boggy Creek Road, Longford, or the road or any component of the road has not previously been constructed by a way of special rate or charge, hereby proceeds to declare a special rate charge scheme under Section 163(1) of the Act scheme in accordance with the Declaration of Special Charge Declaration. Attached to and forming a part of this report, such declaration being for the purposes of constructing the road and providing all and any ancillary works, including surface drainage, and item 2, 3 and 4 as stated.
Thank you very much. Well done. Is that did I do that? I haven't done seconded, haven't I? Councillor Hull, thank you. Is that motion opposed? Motion is not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Boggy, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would actually. This is
previous?
another great scheme that we have done through the Special Charge Scheme, Street Construction Scheme. This is to update Boggy Creek Road. If you go down Boggy Creek Road, there's quite a lot of people that live on that. It is just a gravel road. We're going to update that road to be now a sealed road. We have 33 property owners. 26 people actually supported the scheme, or 79% of the property owners. So they're all quite in favour to get their road updated. So a great result for the public there.
Thank you indeed. Just to kind of give a bit of a summary, because I know this sounds very complicated, but Boggy Creek was sent out a bit of a letter to go to a public meeting. They had it at the golf club in Longford. I was there that night. It was a great night. There was some enthusiasm to continue. We then publicly polled them. Then it's required under the Act to hear any submissions. We've done that tonight, and tonight we've actually passed the scheme. So for the people of Boggy Creek, the scheme has now been passed and shall move into our capital works frame. So I know from the enthusiasm enthusiasm at that night at the golf club. There'll be some excited people on Boggy Creek tonight. Let's move on to item C 4.3. We now intend here to begin the process of Cooper Crescent Special Charge Construction Scheme, intention to declare the Special Charge Scheme, and I see Councillor Ripper getting to her feet.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'd like to move that Council commence the statutory process under the Local Government Act 1989, the Act to declare a special charge scheme for the purpose of constructing Cooper Creek in Maffra, Cooper Crescent in Maffra, and providing all and any ancillary works including drainage and vehicle crossings. And 2, Council, in accordance with sections 163(1)(a) and 163(b)(3) to the Act, direct that a public notice be given in the Gippsland Times newspaper and on Council's website of the intention of Council to declare the scheme at its ordinary meeting to be held on 21 July 2020 in accordance with the proposed declaration of Special Charge Scheme number 2001 in the form of the attachment to this report for the construction of Cooper Crescent in Maffra, proposed declaration of special charge, and paragraph 3, paragraph 4, paragraph 5, paragraph 6 and paragraph 7 as read.
Just in saying that, it does say in paragraph 4 that Council appoints 3. Have we put the 3 councillors in?
Well picked up, Mayor.
Have they got them in?
Yes, well picked up. Just seeing if you're on the job.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So we've got Councillor Ripper, Councillor Crosley and Councillor Hole as indicated there. Alternative Representative Councillor McCubbin. I was just intending that was incorrect. That was correct. Well done. Is that motion seconded? Councillor Rossetti, is that motion opposed? Motion not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Ripper, would you like to say some words about that?
No, we will move on, Mayor. It's self-explanatory. Anyone that's watching it will be able to read through it, or I think we'll keep going.
Indeed so. And those people in Cooper Crescent who are affected by the scheme will now be officially sent a form, despite whatever you've done and whatever you've said to whatever in the past. Now it is your chance to say whether you want to do it or whether you don't want to do it. We'll look at those objections and then we'll move ahead if there's enough people saying they wish to go ahead with the scheme. So it's up to you, Cooper Crescent. Let's move on to item C 4.4, the purpose of which is to begin the Port Albert intention to declare a special charge scheme. And I see Councillor Ripper again getting to her feet. You are a busy person.
Okay. Yes, we've now travelled from Maffra to Port Albert, and we really haven't travelled. This is great technology. I'd like to move that Council commence the statutory process under the Local Government Act 1989, the Act to declare a special charge scheme, proposed scheme for the purpose of constructing certain streets in the township of Port Albert, as those streets are listed and shown on the plan, which is attached to and which forms part of the proposed declaration of Special Charge Scheme number 1906, in the form of the attached proposed declaration of special charge to this report, and the provision of all and any ancillary works, including the provision of driveways and driveway culverts from road edge to building line and parking in Bay Street and the south side of adjacent to Rutter Park. Now, 2, 3, 4. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to read this. Council appoint the following 3 councillors. That will be Councillor Hall, Councillor Marr, Councillor Stevens, and as an alternate representative, Councillor Ripper, to form the Port Albert Township Street Construction Special Charge Scheme Submission Committee. That is established by Council under section 2231(bi) of the Act to consider written submissions, objections and to hear any persons who in that written submissions under section 223 of the Act have requested that they are heard in support of this submission. Para 5, Para 6, Para 7 as read.
Well done, Councillor Ripper. Is that motion seconded? Councillor Hole. Well done, Councillor Hole. Is that motion opposed? Motion not opposed, therefore it is carried. Councillor Ripper, would you like to say any words in regard to that intention to declare?
Mayor, all I'd like to say that this is the opportunity for their area to be bitumenised and to have their drains and driveways upgraded. So it's up to those people in Port Albert who are affected to get together socially distancing or on the phone and discuss this and all put a tick in the box, and you'll all be better off for it.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Thank you very much for that. There is nothing under C5, General Manager, Community and Culture. We haven't got any urgent business, have we?
We don't, Acting Mayor, but we do have a chat room
Excellent.
question.
That's good. A chat room question. Good.
Which we hadn't had for a while.
No, but thank you.
We have some correspondence today from Mr Alan Haywood of Pearsondale, just in relation to some funds that Council received from the federal government in relation to the drought.
Oh, yeah,
and our
great.
initial proposal to seal the gravel area at the Gippsland Regional Livestock Exchange. I'll just read out Mr Haywood's comments verbatim. They're reasonably brief. I agreed with the decision to abort the idea of asphalting the driveway area at the Livestock Exchange. I understand the federal government drought assistance grant was then used to resheet gravel roads in the areas of Dargo, Haywood and Boysdale. I understand this change was not publicised or made known to Wellington residents and ratepayers. Do the Wellington Shire councillors think it would be in order to rectify this by informing the people of the Shire about all the details of the works and the reasons of the works? Thank you, Alan. So, Acting Mayor, we'll form a response and get you to sign that out to Mr Haywood by the end of the week.
Yes. Look, and I would be comfortable if the response to that could be put at the next meeting as well, so that it's publicly available as Mr Haywood has asked. I'm comfortable with that. Is there no other gallery comments?
None, Acting Mayor.
That'll be fine. Then, ladies and gentlemen, before I just close the meeting off, I think it's really important to reiterate what Councillor Rossetti has said. Earlier on, one of the most disappointing parts of this COVID-19 emergency is the fact that Anzac Day has been significantly altered. However, in understanding that, our thoughts of all of us around here and around the council table are for those who have served admirably our country, and particularly those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. Our thoughts are with them. We will not forget them. I do reiterate that the RSL is urging people to stand at their driveway. Driveways at dawn, it's called, at 6 a.m. on Anzac Day, and I urge members of the Wellington Shire to do that. We can still come together to support those that have served our country. Of course, this does not mean coming together in a physical sense, but we can come together as a community. Because at the going down of the sun, we shall certainly remember them. Ladies and gentlemen, please also, can I just mention that the RSL is running a support, I think it's got a support Anzac appeal, because of the fact the Anzac Day has changed this year. It'd be great if you go online and make a contribution to that Anzac appeal. I think the RSL would appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor, for those words. It's been the next service person.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for wearing your poppy top tonight. It's very good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tonight. I thank the councillors for the sacrifices they've made tonight in coming along. We do appreciate that, and we thank you for listening in at home. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time, or when next we are allowed to meet. Thank you. Good night, and God bless.
Good night.